Love or fear? You're motivated by one or the other. And, from time to time, one and then the other. But fundamentally and primarily, you're motivated by one or the other. And even further than that, if you look really deeply, you will see that what you normally take to be I, me, myself, is your fear and what your fear has produced to protect you from experiences of pain similar to the ones that produced your personality, your persona. So your ego, in other words, the part of you that experiences a distinction between me and not me, that's your ego. The persona of the ego is like the personality or the characters, the masks that your ego can wear to protect what you take to be you, which is distinct from what you take to be not you. When the ego is in charge, you're motivated by fear. There's no sense trying to destroy the ego or annihilate the ego permanently. It's great to have an ego death, to annihilate the ego and have a moment of satori or nibbana or whatever other words there are for it. But I don't think anybody or almost nobody persists or is able to persist in an utterly egoless state. And I don't think it's really fruitful to pursue that, because your ego is actually beautiful. It's a beautiful component of what it is that you are, according to how this human apparatus processes or filters and expresses consciousness. So the ego is working for you instead of you working for your ego. Your ego is working for you when you're motivated by love. See, the ego is a wonderful servant when the ego is subordinate to what you could call the true self. That's okay. The most authentic self. The self that understands that it is an expression of eternal love. So you can notice that perhaps now you are serving your fear, and you might realize that you have the opportunity to serve love. So I talk about this fairly frequently, that God is love, because God is the highest ideal and love is what's best. And that in the world, what we see are people worshiping false idols because they are serving power, prestige, fame, and fortune. And I break those down from time to time. I won't really do it now, but suffice to say, you can understand power, wealth, and fame as things that people aspire to, imagining that that's going to fulfill them, actually imagining that it, not so much fulfillment, but that it's going to quiet the thing working that they fear to face. And then prestige just means basically looking good, or you could call it approval, let's say, or accolades. People think that you're a good person or that you're good at your job, or you're a good musician or a good surgeon or whatever. That's sort of that prestige category. But serving any of that really deeply is rooted in fear, is motivated by a fear. Fear that there's something wrong, that you're in danger, something needs to be manufactured in order for you to be protected from this deep and vulnerable truth, which is a misbelief, not a truth, but in the unconscious, this misbelief that you may not be lovable, or in fact, the sneaking suspicion that there's something wrong about you that cannot be corrected or healed, but only hidden away by your performing, your great gift. By being smart and being likable or being beautiful or being funny or being hardworking or whatever you think. But all of this is a mistake. To serve anything other than love, I think, is a mistake. And there are forces and energies in our society that would stoke your fear, either directly by presenting you frightening or despairing images and news of the world. And believe me, there's plenty going on in the world that could provoke fear, which can then also lead to despair. Or these forces and energies can just sort of reinforce that some kind of product, beauty product, a get-rich-quick scheme or whatever is desirable and will solve your problems, or just getting the right kind of attention will make you feel less afraid. And the reason that this is effective for these powerful entities, whether you want to think of them as spiritual entities or just or material entities like a corporation or a media company or a government or whatever, whoever there is out there that would coerce you. I find it's also useful to think of it in spiritual terms, because a corporation, for example, is a non-human entity. So if I say there are non-human entities at play, that already implies spiritual entities. Even though a corporation is material, it is something that is not human and is not easily destroyed. So anyway, I don't want to get too in the weeds on that end of things. So you are subject to, anyway, myriad distractions from the deep truth that love is best, that love conquers all. And even if you're able to get that conceptually, recognizing how you are behaving something else, some other belief, can be a challenge. And so that's really the gist of what I want to communicate here. In every video, whatever I'm talking about, even if it's some specific thing about relationships and coupling, or about dealing with anxiety or depression, or having more fulfilling vocation or marriage or whatever, it's really all rooted in this principle of, do you serve love or fear? And man, people are so fearful, so afraid, including me. But, my efforts to serve love, have love, working to solve that temptation of fear, or the temptations that arise because one is afraid. And so what going around in a state of fear means is that also, like, we're very distrusting of our fellow person and of what the world is like. Fair enough. But it's possible to cultivate faith. Which is not like a superstition, but a way of being devoted to a life-giving principle, in spite of your fear and in spite of your cynicism. So my invitation today, in this kind of longer, more rambling video, is to look closely and start to notice what is scaring you. What are you protecting, and what are you protecting that thing from? And what would it be like if your attention was turned towards loving both yourself and the reality that has produced you, and your fellow person on whom you depend? How would that alter the experience of this nagging fear that something will go wrong or has gone wrong? And is it possible that everything is perfect? Is it possible that all is unfolding perfectly? After all, the sun and the planets and the galaxy, which is only one of billions, all seem to be in order. And then there's this small little planet Earth that we experience as being disordered somehow. But it's nested inside this incredible, vast, much larger cosmic order. Is it really possible that this little speck and what occurs here, what arises and passes away, is somehow not in order? Of course, our immediate experience is that things go wrong. And it's important to deal with cruelty and injustice. But if our engagement and opposition to cruelty and injustice occurs on a foundation of an incredible and miraculous order that we can trust, then our energy for the battle against chaos and evil, our energy might turn out to be limitless, because love is limitless. And ultimately, that's what we would fight for, those of us who would fight the good fight. And maybe fight isn't the best word. Let's say participation in the tipping of the balance, or in the arrival of the kingdom of heaven on earth, so that everyone might live on earth as it is in heaven. That we would live in our practical material realm as it is in the highest imagination of any consciousness. Well, I don't really know what the theme of this video is exactly, or what the takeaway is, but I like spending time with those of you who are along for the ride. And I leave you with the opportunity, really the greatest opportunity, which is to serve love rather than to be ruled by fear.